When they drop out and they come back.
Remember I drop out and come back too?
You did?
I will remember, I drop out and come back.
Okay, we don't need to on.
Me and Dina drop out and then we come back.
Prodigal children.
Yeah.
Now she's perfect.
Good morning. How are you? Good morning.
Okay. Good morning. Thanks for your patience. We're here to begin a tour of 3 hospitals today in Brooklyn, and all 3 have something in common, and I wish they didn't have it in common. They're all threatened. They're all in danger of being lost to our communities in the coming months. Nowhere is that more true than here at Interfaith Hospital. Interfaith serves Bedford-Stuyvesant and surrounding neighborhoods. It's crucially necessary to the community. It is crucially necessary as an emergency facility. We all know that right now we're simultaneously fighting to save Long Island College Hospital. Also crucially necessary to a huge swath of Brooklyn, also with an important emergency room that we've been doing without now for the last few weeks, and we see a horrible negative domino effect on emergency rooms all over Brooklyn. So right now, 2 hospitals immediately threatened, literally could be lost during the month of August if we don't succeed in achieving solutions for the long term. And then behind them, as many as 5 other hospitals in Brooklyn in danger, 2 of which we're going to tour today, Wyckoff and Brookdale. So I want you to hear this staggering figure: 7 hospitals in Brooklyn total that could be in danger. In a borough of 2.6 million people, that would have a stunning negative impact. And that's on top of the loss of over a dozen hospitals already during the Bloomberg years. Well, you know, I've said many times that what's amazing in this situation is the mayor's been absolutely silent. He refused to help us when we tried to save St. Vincent's Hospital in Manhattan. He's been absolutely silent on Interfaith, absolutely silent on Long Island College Hospital, until apparently today. The mayor decided to say something. And here is his very sensitive, very helpful quote on the fact that people are losing health care that they desperately need in Brooklyn. He said, quote, "You can't have a hospital on every corner." Now that is beyond insensitive. That once again shows a mayor absolutely out of touch with the people of his own city, people in need in Brooklyn and neighborhoods like Bed-Stuy. No one suggested ever in the history of this city that we would like, quote unquote, a hospital on every corner. All we're saying is we want to stop losing hospitals we depend on. Think about the numbers. Excuse me. I'm allergic to the mayor's hypocritical rhetoric. Think about the numbers. Before this year is over, it could be 15, 16, 17 hospitals could have been lost on Bloomberg's watch. How is that possible that a mayor would let that happen to his own city? And so, hold on. So today we're going to illustrate the depth of the problem, and we're going to go to these hospitals to bring attention to their situation and the need for their survival. And even though the mayor was silent until today and now has offered us an arrogant characterization of the situation, even though the governor has not come to our rescue yet, I put forward a plan this week to try and start a constructive dialogue, to try and start moving us forward with a vision of what it would take to actually have a coherent approach to protecting healthcare, a Brooklyn Health Authority, combining city and state resources, city and state regulatory power to make sure that no hospital closes and that each hospital is restructured as the kind of healthcare facility we need for our future, and that we make sure everyone gets the health care they need. Remind you one more fact before I take your questions. recent study showed that a quarter of the population of Brooklyn, a quarter of all Brooklynites, do not get sufficient health care services. We have been losing hospitals right and left, and yet 25% of the people of Brooklyn, well over 500,000 people, are getting insufficient health care right now. We won't continue down a path that's only going to make us less healthy and less safe. We're going to fight to keep Interfaith open, to keep Lich open, to create a long-term plan, and to finally get our elected leaders to take responsibility for health care. It's time for them to stop throwing up their hands. It's time for them to agree on a plan of action so we can protect health care for each and every community. With that, we welcome your questions.
Can you talk about what the purpose is of this tour today? Are you basically just trying to draw attention to the plight of these hospitals?
Absolutely. You know, look, I want to thank all of the people standing here today who work every day to ensure the health care of the people of Brooklyn. And as their hospital's been threatened, they have been crying out and saying, look what's going to be lost here. And finally, we got attention a few weeks ago when we went to the SUNY headquarters and we had a protest and we had a civil disobedience. We finally started to get the attention of this city on the healthcare crisis, on the hospital closure epidemic. And then we had a series of court actions that have kept Long Island College Hospital going. This is the beginning of a much bigger effort to illustrate just how much these different hospitals are threatened, how crucial they are to each community. So that's what we're doing today. Other questions?
Can you give just a status update on Long Island College Hospital? And what
we continue in the court process. The temporary restraining order remains in effect. It has been reaffirmed repeatedly, both at the Supreme Court level and the appellate division level. And I can say, as sure as the sun rises in the morning, that the State University of New York continues to defy the court order and continues to act inappropriately. And I believe the court system will act very aggressively on that fact, and there will be real consequences. Any other questions?
We do another topic?
It's up to you guys. Another topic? Yes.
Just real quick, I wanted to mention, I don't know if you saw this, but Bill Thompson sent out an email to his supporters this morning saying that you are lying about his record on stop and frisk, that he's been committed to performing stop and frisk, against racial profiling, and that this is sort of political grandstanding to attack him on his record.
Look, I think the facts here are very clear. If you truly want to reform stop and frisk in this city, if you want to actually bring police and community back together, we need a new police commissioner, we need a strong independent inspector general, and we need a legal ban on racial profiling. I think there's a broad consensus among people who want to make change and end the corrosive impact of stop and frisk, that we need those three components. Now, for months and months, I've been involved in the fight to get an independent inspector general and to get a racial profiling ban. It is clear where I stand, but for months and months we've been waiting for Bill Thompson to clarify his position on the independent inspector general and the racial profiling ban. And we've been waiting and waiting and waiting. I remind you, on the 29th of May, front page of the New York Times, clear article indicating that Mr. Thompson opposed an independent inspector general and opposed the legislation to ban racial profiling. And at the time he said, this is a quote from him in that article, he said, quote, "There's been an overreaction to stop and frisk." Well, right now, the issue before us is the mayor's veto of the racial profiling ban. And if what Mr. Thompson is saying is that he's ready to join us in that effort to override the mayor's veto, we would welcome his support. The mayor is working strenuously to sustain his veto. He's working strenuously to peel off at least one vote so he can successfully veto the racial profiling ban. If Mr. Thompson's with us in supporting that racial profiling ban legislation, we would value his support greatly and we'd welcome him.
Thanks, everybody. We've got to run right next to go inside.
Okay, thanks everyone. This way?
Yep. Bill, there's a quick one question.